In the last lesson, we looked at Einstein's equation, energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. And that tells us that we can take energy and convert it into mass, or take mass and convert it into energy. Before we can really work some example problems on this, we have to be familiar with how we measure these things. Energy, remember, the ability to do work or cause change, is measured in joules. Okay? The abbreviation for joules is capital J, and it turns out 1 joule in base units is equal to a kilogram, meter squared, per second squared. Okay? Which means we have to measure mass in kilograms. Remember, a kilogram is 1,000 grams, so that's kilo, means times 10 to the third, or 1,000, so a kilogram. 1 kg equals 1,000 grams. And then finally, c is the speed of light. It's always 300 million, so that's 3 followed by 8 zeros, meters per second. Occasionally you'll see me write this as 3 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. That's just scientific notation of the same thing. And scientific notation is handy because it makes putting these numbers into your calculator much faster. So now that we know our units, let's take a look at an example problem. Okay. How much energy is produced when 0.002 kilograms of matter is converted into energy? Whenever we have a problem, you start by writing what you know. So you know that there are 0.002 kilograms of matter. You know you're looking for energy. How much energy? Question mark. Okay. Then you go for the equation that tells you how they're related. That equation is energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, and so C is 3 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. So now I'm going to plug in the numbers that I know into my equation. So this is 0.002 times 3 times 10 to the 8th squared. Now, when you're dealing with this, you can go ahead and jump to your calculator, or you can do some math in your head real quick. Okay, this square affects these two numbers differently. So the 0.002 is going to stay. 3 squared is 9, and that means times 10, and when you have exponents to exponents, you multiply them. So 9 times 10 to the 16th. Okay? I don't care if you do it that way or if you just grab your calculator. When you do this on your calculator, there's a couple different ways to do this. Your calculator has a scientific notation button. Most of them do. It's a capital E. So this right here is a capital E, capital E. That means times 10 to the power of. So instead of writing 3 followed by 8 zeros, I can say 0.002 times 3, and I need those E's, times 10 to the 8. So that capital E means times 10 to the 8. Don't use the lowercase e, that's not what it means. And then I have to square that. And that will get me my answer. 1.8 times 10 to the 14th joules. You never write the E, that's times 10 to the 14th. Now, if you can't find that E button on your calculator, you can do this the old-fashioned way, 0.002 times, and I'm going to put this in parentheses, 3,000,000. That's 8 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and square that, and I get the same answer, 1.8 times 10 to the 14th joules. You can also use scientific notation, or you can use the power button on your calculator. So what I mean by that is you can take 0.002 times 3 times 10 raised to the 8th power. And on this calculator, the way I do that is I go raised to the 8th. Okay? So I can do that like that, and again, oops, I forgot to square that. So I'm going to pull that equation up again and square that 3 times 10 to the 8th, and then I have 1.8 times 10 to the 14th. So it doesn't matter how you enter it on your calculator as long as you pick one of the 3 methods that is viable. Now let's work one more equation, one more example problem, and then you guys can get to work. If a nuclear reactor produces 3 times 10 to the 16th joules of energy, so E, 3 times 10 to the 16th, how much matter is converted to energy? We're looking for matter, that's our unknown. So our equation that relates energy and mass, mc squared, and so we do know the speed of light, 3 times 10 to the 8th. So now I'm going to put in what I know, 3 times 10 to the 16th equals m, since I don't know it, times 3 times 10 to the 8th, and this is squared. So now I'm going to go ahead and solve and divide both sides by 3 times 10 to the 8th squared. And so m equals 3 times 10 to the 16th over, now remember that square squares that 3, so that's 9 times 10, and that 8 gets multiplied by 2, which is 16. And when that happens, this 16 times 10 to the 16 and that times 10 to the 16 cancels, and I get 3 over 9, or 1/3 of a kilogram. Okay, that's 0.33 kg. Now, if you don't want to do it that way and you want your calculator to do the work for you, that's fine. Just take 3 times 10 to the 16th divided by 3 times 10 to the 16th, or 3 times 10 to the 8th, sorry, squared. And we get that answer. Okay? So let your calculator work for you, but it's just a matter of plugging in the right numbers into this equation and then doing the math to solve.